Okay, so I'm going to go over how to take a person and put them onto a new background. So first you're going to need to open up your photo of the person. So go to photopea.com and go File, Open, and then find your person that you're going to bring into a new background. So I have a photo of my friend taking a photo. And I'm going to also open up a new landscape photo. So File, Open, and then choose your new landscape photo that you're going to place them onto. So along the top here, you're going to have the two tabs to choose from. I'm going to go to the first tab, which is my image of my person. And I'm going to be using a selection tool to outline the body of the person here. So the third tool down on the toolbar, which is on your left of your screen, has a little jelly bean shape with a dotted square around it. It's called Object Selection. If I click the little arrow next to it, I have a couple other options. Object Selection works great if you have a simplified background, but in this case, I have a pretty complex background, so I'm going to try the Quick Selection instead. The quick selection can be chosen by clicking the arrow alongside and then scrolling down to choose quick selection. Quick selection looks like a paintbrush with kind of a dotted blob around it. As I click on my subject, it's going to try and select like pixels. So if my selection brush does a good job, it will just select the person. If it gets a little confused, it might add some other pixels to that selection. So you can see that it got confused around the subject's hair and also selected the mountain. As I try and select the pigtails here or the ponytail here, it might also select some other areas of the background. So to remove this from the selection, I'm going to go up to the top where it says mode, and I'm going to change it from plus to minus, and that's going to subtract from my selection. I'm also going to try making my brush a little bit smaller, and I'm going to try going across the background, seeing if I can get it without taking away my model's hair. I'm going to do the same over here. And when you're getting a lot of difficulties and you're going back and forth, so I just clicked on that shadow over here and it took away part of her arm from the selection. You can try a couple different things. You can try going with a smaller brush. You can try taking the hardness of the brush from 100% down a little bit. Sometimes this works great. You can also try zooming in. So I'm going to try zooming in with the magnifying glass or on your keyboard Control Plus. And I'm going to try selecting an area to add with this zoom happening. And I'm trying to add this to my selection. You can see it got confused again and took out that little background there, or added the background there to the selection. So I'm looking for these dotted lines. Now, if you are working with a Chromebook, this process might be quite tedious. So don't be try not to get frustrated, try to stay calm and patient, but it is important that you only have your Pixlr window open when you're working on this. You want your computer to be solely devoted to this selection. So once I get to a point where I'm like, okay, it's pretty good. I have some extra stuff going on around her head, around her arms, but otherwise I'm fairly satisfied with my selection. And I think I can take some of these parts out when I go into my other image. I'm going to zoom back out by using Control minus on my keyboard. And I'm going to copy this image to bring it onto my new background. So I can either do Edit and Copy, or I can use the keyboard shortcut Control C. And then I'm going to jump to my next image tab in the other side, which is my landscape photo. And here I'm going to go Control V to paste, or Edit, Paste. So it's going to bring a new layer on my layer stack with the image of my person on top of the image of my background. Now I have some things to work with on this layer here. So I'm going to use the Move tool, which is at the top of my toolbar. And I can position my person within the frame. If my person is too large or too small for the frame and I need to resize them, I'm going to go Edit and Free Transform. Then I'm going to get this box around them, and I can drag in from the corners to make them a little bit smaller, or drag out to make them a little bit larger. I'm going to pretend that this person is a lot closer to me than the background is so that you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to keep them a little bit larger. Now, I'm going to show you how you can take away parts of the selection that came with that person that you do not want. So you want to first make sure that you are on the correct layer. If I have the layer with the person selected, it will appear darker in my layers panel. If I have the background layer selected, it will appear darker. So I don't want to be working on the background layer and accidentally deleting pixels or painting or erasing pixels from my background. I want to make sure I'm erasing and taking away pixels from my foreground layer. So that's another important thing. Instead of erasing, I can do what's called non-destructive editing by adding a mask. So I'm going to add a raster mask to this layer. It's at the bottom of my layers panel where I'm circling with my cursor here. It's that white rectangle with a gray circle. It kind of looks like a little camera. I'm going to click that. The white thumbnail will appear next to the thumbnail of my person. And there'll be a little chain icon in between. When I'm using a layer mask, I'm going to paint with black to conceal that layer and white to reveal. So you'll notice when you first add a layer mask, it's completely white. That means everything within this layer of my person photo is being revealed. So I want to conceal these little extra pieces of background. So I'm going to choose my paintbrush, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down on my toolbar. I'm going to make sure that black is at the forefront of my color picker selection. And then I can change my brush if I want to go a little bit faster. I'm going to increase the size. And as I'm painting, you're going to see some black appear in that thumbnail next to the thumbnail of your photo of your person. Now I'm going pretty quickly and I'm not zooming in just for the purpose of this tutorial, but I would recommend zooming in when you do this because I took out a little chunk of my person's arm there, and it's very easy to make mistakes if you don't zoom in. So remember to zoom in. You can use the magnifying glass on the bottom of the toolbar, or you can use Control Plus on your keyboard. So I would always recommend zooming in, changing your brush size to a smaller brush size, making sure your brush is soft as you go around the edges where you had some little extra pieces selected. Okay, so if I ever cut off too much in my layer mask, so let's say, whoops, I made a little mistake there, I can always fix it. That's just a mask. It's not actually erasing the picture. So remember the rhyme, black to conceal and white to reveal. So I'm going to flip my color selection in the bottom left of my toolbar here. And I'm going to increase the size a bit so you can see how fast I can do this. I made a little mistake, but if I paint with white in that layer mask, it's going to reveal that part of the photo. Same thing down here. If I accidentally took away too much of her arm there when I was erasing the background, I can paint it back in by painting with white within the layer mask. Okay, I'm going to zoom out so you can see the finished product. As you can see, it's not perfect, it's not finished, but this is the simple basics of selecting and masking to bring a subject onto a new background. And I hope this video helped you out. I will make another video on how to match colors and lighting for your photo composites.